Are you the first rapper that had to go to the Supreme Court?
I'm the first of so many things. First to create a record company in the South. First to go to the Supreme Court. Hip hop artist to go to the Supreme Court. First artist to get his record deemed obscene. Hip hop record to be deemed obscene.
See what I'm saying? But hold on, me to cut you off. See what I'm saying? You probably need to be getting a check from that. See?
Another check. Hey, Dre, you gonna be my agent. Man, Dre was always a legend. Dre was a legend.
Like I said, you don't get enough credit. It's so many guys that have came through that program and been able to play in the NFL. So I definitely think people should know that, man. I definitely want to give you your flowers because you've had an effect on so many kids. And even right now, you're still a head coach at Edison High School. So, like, people don't even know that he's a legend to me. He means so much to me. He's from my hometown of Miami. Entrepreneur. He's done so many great things in our community, and still right now has had an effect on so many young men that has came through our community. Uncle Luther Campbell, what's happening, brother?
Hey, man. Thank you guys for having me on the show, man. And once again, congratulations, Hall of Famer. You made us proud. You made us proud.
Growing up in Miami, being a Miami native, you actually worked at a hospital, and you would also do club promotions at night. What was tell me a little bit, like, what was that like, and what made you dive into the club promotion?
Man, that's funny that you asked that. Nobody ever asks me that question there, because that's basically where it really all started. Me working as a cook at Mount Sinai Hospital. I went to the beach. I actually ended up on the beach in junior high because that was the only place that we could play Optimist football coming from the city. So, I played ball over there, and obviously they'll hook you up with jobs. And so I became a pot washer and eventually ended up becoming a cook. And, I always hung out at 99 Jams as an intern, trying to learn the music business that way. And, I just took on this being a DJ in the ghetto style DJs. And then, from there, we just, started promoting shows and, at night and, cooking in the daytime and on the weekends, making some money doing that.
You talk about your optimist, you did a lot with the inner youth in the city, with the programs, with the football and things like that. Can you just talk about your first time meeting a guy like Andre, what you seen in him and just what you thought about him? I don't know at what age did you meet him or see him, but obviously you can see his physical talents as soon as you put your eyes on him.
Man, Dre was always a legend. Dre was a legend. But the most unique thing about Dre, before I tell you about this optimist thing, was the fact that he stayed loyal to Miami High. And when I seen him say that Miami High speech, at the Hall of Fame, that I don't know, because I still coach ball. I don't know how powerful you know that to be in this day of time, because everybody want to go to the flashy schools, the Northwesterns, the Centrals, the Chaminades, the St. Thomases, and all the world. And Dre, obviously, I'm pretty sure his mom got 1,000 phone calls just like himself to go to the flashy schools, but he stayed loyal to Miami High. And that's what I tell kids, and I tell people all the time, man, just stay loyal to the school, go play to places, and now I can say you can go to Hall of Fame. Starting the Optimist program, because I was a kid that got bused to the beach. We had no organized football in Liberty City. And so, I always said when I get 2 cents over my lunch money, I'm going to start a youth program in the city. And so I started Liberty City Optimist. I mean, you got so many great players that came out of there. You got McGahee, he came out of there. You got Levante Davis, Devontae Freeman, Duke Johnson. Chad Johnson. So many great players that came out of the program, again, in an area where, they probably wouldn't have got bused to the beach or any organized place to play. Unfortunately, we couldn't get Dre. We could not get him. But in those days, people stayed loyal to their community. They just stayed loyal to the area that they came from.
I remember when you started Liberty City Optimist because I was playing at Carroll City at the time. And I remember it was the big thing, Lucas starting this new league. Because like you said, y'all didn't have an organized team right there in the city for the guys. Everybody had to go to the beach or go to the boys club, to try to play. So, like I said, you don't get enough credit. It's so many guys that have came through that program and been able to play in the NFL. So, I definitely think people should know that, man. I definitely want to give you your flowers because you've had an effect on so many kids. And even right now, you're still a head coach at Edison High School. So, like, people don't even know that, about you unless they really know you and follow you. So, talk about that.
I've been offered to coach college ball, but I'm like, nah, I have to stop my career. Then the second thing, I won't be able to help them kids in a blighted community, in the community of Little Haiti, where so many of those kids don't have an opportunity. I look at it from the standpoint of being able to get kids an opportunity to go to college where they wouldn't normally get that opportunity. Every year we do about 90 to 95% of our kids going to universities around the country, whether it's Miami, my boy Ray got your number on out there.
Right.
Playing for University of Miami. We got other kids, twins over at South Florida, other kids around the country, that wouldn't normally have an opportunity because, at Miami Edison, it was a down school. I just say, look, they asked me, the school hadn't won a game in 2 years, and I was at Norland, and I ended up saying, look, the man upstairs taking me over this way.
And I hear you keep talking about Miami a little bit. You say they got the game, y'all game scheduled Saturday after their game. What is one of your favorite memories of Dre time at Miami? Being a hometown local hero legend.
I mean, this dude was so physical. I mean, you just knew he was gonna be great. And I mean, it's just so many big games that this guy performed in at such a high level. I mean, you got to think about it, and Dre will tell you better than you see so many great players that play at the University of Miami, and the guys that stick out are the guys who are going to end up at the Hall of Fame. And you knew he stuck out. Ray Lewis stuck out, EJ stuck out, Sapp stuck out, Cortez, all these, man, you just knew. I mean, it's just so many great games, so many great memories.
Fast forward to the rap career. I think you were the driving force of the Miami-based music. How did you end up getting? I just realized this today too, that Two Live Crew, they were from California originally, and you brought them down to Miami. So how did all that happen?
DJing, when I was DJing, I was like, okay, we doing Pac Jam here, DJing at different high schools. We DJed at Carroll City, which was my first biggest gig, DJing over there. And I just said, okay, we got to start bringing acts down. Dude from down south, Tiny Head, South Miami DJs. He first started bringing acts down, and I was like, well, we got to do something different. We got to start bringing acts down. And so I would get these records out my record pool, the no-name artists, and then I would play them for like 2 months. So I played this Two Live Crew song for 2 months, had not been on the radio or anything like that. Give them a call, say, I'm going to break your record down here in Miami because I'm playing at the park, I'm playing at all these different places, thousands of people over the weekend. If I played it, it became a hit record. And then I brought them dudes down. So, they started telling me, just like every other artist from California that was on the same label, which was called Macola Records, which NWA was on, Egyptian Love, all these different groups was on that label, and it was more of a distribution situation. And they were like, man, we want to, do our own records. And so at the end of the day, I ended up doing, I did a record with them. I was like, well, you're going to have to adopt the Miami culture, bass music, it's got to be up-tempo. And so we ended up doing the record Throw the D. And nobody wanted it. I tried to shop it to other record labels. And then at the end of the day, I said, I'll take my little money that I got and put it out. And that's how, the Two Live Crew was actually formulated into the group that they were today.
How tough was that? Because, I know a lot of the songs and things, people felt they were, obscene or whatnot. How tough was that to try to get people to play your music and, get or be able to sign with record labels?
It was tough. Once I realized I was not gonna get Throw the D put on the radio, I had to get the rough version played at the club. So then what I did was I was like, again, I'm a grinder. When you from the crib, you already know we grind. We're gonna make it happen any kind of way. Ain't nobody gonna tell us no. And so I just started relying on the clubs and getting club DJs to play the songs. And then, at the end of the day, kids that came from Miami, they went to FAM and they went to different colleges around the country, and they then started taking the music to different places, to their colleges, and then started breaking out like that. So getting the music played on the radio was not going to happen. The song probably never played in the history on there, but I established this underground, of people being able to play it with DJs, local DJs, mix show DJs, and things like that. And that's how we actually got the song played around the country. And it just took on like wildfire. Kids started playing, obviously, the dirty version of it, and then I started getting calls, and I had to end up creating that parental advisory sticker that people see on the record right now, because parents were saying, hey, look, our kids are playing this dirty version, because kids going to play the wild stuff. And once I created that, then I created the whole idea of doing two different versions, and that's what we did to kind of keep a little bit of heat off of us. But that didn't work because we eventually ended up getting a lot of heat put on us.
So you're actually saying you came up with the parental advisory sticker that be on like the CDs and stuff now?
I had to do that because Throw the D was so big. I mean, the dirty version of it, they were so big, and so at the end of the day, they were like, what can you do? And so I had to then alert all the record stores, hey, look, sell them the dirty version is the one that got the sticker on it, and the clean version is the one that does not have the sticker on it. So I kind of got the idea from the movie theaters where they would say, this movie with this parental advisory sticker of the movie that you can't go, kids under 17 shouldn't be watching it. So I kind of got that idea, and I created the sticker from that standpoint. And then the music industry somewhat adopted the ideal, so record stores wouldn't sell kids the wrong version of the record.
I seen a store clerk down in Alabama actually got sued or something, had to fight the U.S. for selling an undercover officer a dirty version. It was supposed to be the clean version.
Yeah, that's where it all started in Alabama. That's where it all started in Alabama, because I got the PTA members from Alabama, some high school, I don't know whether it was Hoover or somewhere like that. They ended up calling the office, hey, look, these kids getting this dirty version, and what can you do? And at the end of the day, that's when I created it. It started from Alabama, and then, like you say, record store clerks started going to jail. I mean, had a guy, Freeman, and Fort Lauderdale, he ended up going to jail. And before you know it, I got thrown into this whole Supreme Court argument. And then record eventually got deemed obscene, and I had to go defend that record, nasty as they want to be. And so I found myself fighting in court for so many years for, whether this was free speech, whether it was protected by the Constitution, spending a lot of money trying to, defend the right of artists to be able to say what they want to say on the records, like the girls are saying right now today on the record.
You paved the way for a lot of artists today to get out there and say a lot of things that we're hearing today on these tracks and these albums and music. So I think a lot of people don't really understand what you had to go through, and talking about ownership, just, obviously you fighting the U.S. alone back then in that time and era, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's why the other day I was messing around with all these girls, because the girl artists are winning, and they're turning around, shaking on the videos, and they saying whatever they want to say on the record. And I was messing with them. I was like, yo, y'all need to give Miami their props, because ain't nobody was dropping it like that hot, like that in Miami, until it all started in Miami. You know what I'm saying? Whether you're from St. Louis or you're from Houston, whether you're from New York, it all started from the crib. And so, I'm like, people are like making a scene like I'm calling the girls out. I'm like, no, I'm calling y'all. It's just saying y'all need to give Miami their props. And it's just so amazing that, doing the dances way back then, that these girls right now are doing these same dances that we created, popping it on these videos right now today, and they're very successful at it. If they don't do it in a video, and if they don't do it while they're singing a song, then they're not relevant. It's crazy that that's going on right now today.
Are you the first rapper that had to go to the Supreme Court because of just it was more of like freedom of speech, or were you the first one that had to deal with something like that?
I'm the first to so many things. First to create a record company in the South. First to go to the Supreme Court. Hip hop artist to go to the Supreme Court. First artist to get his record deemed obscene. Hip hop record to be deemed obscene. People didn't realize there was 3 cases going on at the same time. One case where the parody was protected by the First Amendment. That was the song we did, Pretty Woman. That is what ended up at the Supreme Court. All that was brought on by just us being 2 Live Crew and everybody coming after us. Then I had the other case where Judge Gonzalez in Fort Lauderdale deemed the record obscene, and we had to fight to get that overturned. That was nasty as they want to be. And if we did not get that song overturned, everything that you hear on record right now today, any profanity, any, Sexy Red, Lotto, Megan Thee Stallion, all that, you wouldn't be able to do that. And so that case was probably one of the most important to the music industry. But, parody is what you see on Saturday Night Live and all that. They wouldn't be able to do the things that they do when they poke fun and make fun of other people. That case was so important in that aspect. And they use that case right now for intellectual property on the internet. So that case is major when it comes to how the internet operates and people being able to use your name and likeness for fair use. And so, all those cases were like historic, and it's amazing. One day we'll do a movie where people will see how that all formulated, but it's real interesting.
Man, I ain't gonna lie. Just hearing you say all that stuff, you deserve a check. You deserve a big check.
Send me my check.
Yeah, they need to send you a check, man. You should be getting money off everybody. Now I want to fast forward, man. The University of Miami. Tell me, how did that whole thing start? Like, I remember me as a young kid, man, seeing y'all on the sidelines and things of that nature. Like, y'all the reason I wanted to go to Miami, being, homegrown or whatnot. So just kind of tell me how that whole relationship just kind of started.
Man, let me tell you. See, you asking some of the first questions like a lot of people don't know to ask. It's real interesting because I started, I'm doing my little 2 Live Crew thing, flying all around the country. I'm just, house, girls, house, and I'm looking at the news, and I think it was looking at the news. I love University of Miami because, again, fast forward, rewind back further. Me as a kid, back in the days when I played football on the beach, and you would get in the game if you had your jersey on. Nobody was at the game. I was a diehard Hurricane. My brother used to take me out there. We'd get beat by Nebraska 60-0. Oklahoma come down and just beat the brains out of us. We had black quarterback E.J. Baker, Kerry Baker, and all these guys. And, back then when Lou Saban was the coach, and then it became Howard Stellerberger and all that. And, when Howard came, then it was, it wasn't too many kids from the city playing on the team. People don't realize that they only took maybe 1 or 2 because Carl Gables was a racist city, and they told the university, no, you can't have so many kids from the inner city on the team. And so I was sitting there looking, knowing the history, I'm looking at the TV, and they then start getting, I think it was Howard. Howard got beat by Florida A&M, and most of the kids from Florida A&M came from Miami. And he ended up getting beat by them, and he was like, nah, that ain't gonna happen no more. And he went to the administration and said, we gotta keep these kids from Miami and the surrounding areas here in Miami because we just got beat by Florida A&M, HBCU, with kids that should be playing at the University of Miami. And so that kind of changed the whole fabric of it. And when Howard got those guys, you had some dudes that was a little rough around the edges, that they were, you had these news reports where kids, dorm rooms getting robbed, taking the stuff out of their rooms and all that, and they blame the football players. And so I was looking at that and, knowing I'm a diehard Hurricane and knowing that these young men had this great opportunity on the news. And then I was like, man, these dudes got a great opportunity here to get them an education, one, and then end up in the NFL, hopefully. And so I then took it upon myself, which I knew all of them because I had this club called Strawberries before I got Luke's Miami Beach.
I remember.
And a lot of them would come by the club. And you already know.
Yeah, I remember that. I wasn't old enough to go, but I remember Club Straw. I remember hearing about that.
So they used to come by the club. So I then would like pull them dudes to the side and be like, look, man, y'all got a great opportunity, man. Don't blow it. Let me tell you about the history of Coral Gables. They really don't want black people down there, and just do the right thing. And so I then started, kind of mentoring them dudes and hanging out down there, and then ended up on the field, looking out for them, and so like you say, I'm on the field now. I'm a notorious 2 Live Crew member. Part of the stories was right, but a lot of the stories wasn't wrong. So we're not gonna ever tell the story of whether somebody was getting paid off or not.
Right. We ain't talking about that.
We ain't talking about that.
No, we ain't talking
about
that. We don't know nothing about that.
I know. And so all the guys, they then was like, man, we just want to take on this persona. And then I would tell them the stories about how these other schools would come down and beat us to death, and same story I'm telling you. And it was like, and then you add that on to Britt Mossberger and all them commentators talking about how Miami ain't relevant. And so these dudes just took on this attitude that, man, it's us against the world. And then they were like, yo, that do-rag you wear, we want to wear that in the game. And before you know it, it was Jerome Brown, God bless his soul. It's like, man, we want to wear that do-rag. We want to be the bad guys. And they took on a persona, you saw Ray and everybody put their rag on. And before you know it, they was just like outlaws out there. And one thing led to the next, and it was crazy.
How was it like navigating those times, because you're trying to do what's best for your city. A lot of these kids you've seen grow up. You got ties with the University of Miami because they're there. And you see now how these NIL deals done. So how was it navigating that time, being affiliated with it, being accused or whatever it is now, to see where these kids are now getting NIL deals? You pretty much seem to be a part of a lot of history going on here with a lot that's going on.
I guess the first NIL deals. But I mean, it was, let me tell you something, man. When you
see what I'm saying? But hold on, we to cut you off. See what I'm saying? You probably need to be getting a check from that. See?
Another check. Hey, Dre, you gonna be my agent. Okay, you gonna be my agent. You gonna go collect all the checks. Hey, I got a Hall of Fame agent. You gonna collect all the checks. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, when you had guys coming to the University of Miami that parents was literally in foreclosure in the house, and they would come there, and these kids. You had guys who had kids, and back then, I mean, they were hurt, and so, it was a lot of things going on. So I always been a person was like, yo, they need to be paying these players, because when you saw it, it was really difficult. Only thing they would be able to get outside of what they would get, from their grants from the university is free meals at Jack's, free meals, free entry at the clubs and all that. So players at University of Miami would get, they would get free everything from the community. The community would basically pay, would take care of all those guys, for a very long time down there. So when we all looked, it was like, look, man, whatever you could do to help young men. And then it was just a thing, I don't know if it's other places around the country. It's always a thing, down here, kids play good on the park. You know, you look out for them, and that's just that was just a thing. So to be able to navigate and get through that, all that, it's just a way of life. So we never really thought anything was going on wrong about anything that we was doing. We just looking out for these kids, man. It was tough for them all because back then it wasn't a ton of kids going to the NFL. That was their livelihood, playing ball at the university and hope to get an opportunity to go to the NFL.
That's crazy, man. Like to see, like especially like now, what the kids are making. At these colleges. I'm not against it because I remember when we were at Miami, they were kind of talking about it then. Because you see these kids now, man, they getting hundreds of thousands of dollars in it, and I think it's great, for them because it helps put them in a financial place, financial stability early at a young age, and if they go to the NFL, they'll already be prepared, for what's to come.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, NIL, and for me, even for me as a high school coach, I'm different than a lot of high school coaches. Most of them are teachers, educators, and I was able to do some work, with my ex, with some of the players that came through my program, Duke and Freeman, and some of the other players, and kind of representing them on the marketing end of it. So you kind of know it, and it kind of flowed over. The same people have flowed over into college football with NIL, but it still becomes the education of the player. So it's a good thing and it's a bad thing because there are stories of guys getting all the money and then now they got to take care of the whole community, and before at the end of the day, they can't function mentally on the football field like an NFL player does.
I just got to know, obviously, you done worked with everybody. You done been at the top of your profession. You've been around for 40, however many years.
No, Dre didn't go to none of the wild parties.
No more of them questions.
No, he wasn't allowed.
I want to know, how happy were you when Drake got that Hall of Fame call? But I also really want to know what motivates you. I work with high school kids all the time and do different things, and I know that's a different ball game. You're the head coach. You got to still deal with it when they go home, the whole off season, everything with the NIL deals now. So that's a job within itself, and I'm sure you got other things that you're doing outside of that. So that's my two-part question for you, and I'm pretty much done with you, my brother.
Man, hey, you're right. It is difficult. I mean, you got to look at film. So, I mean, during football season, I only get probably 4 hours of sleep because you got to do your regular business throughout the course of the day. Then you got to head to the school about 3 o'clock, and you're there from 3 to 6. You got to prepare these kids. You might get a call from the principal early in the morning that one of your kids did something crazy. So you gotta remember to put them on the sled, and at the same time you gotta do your regular business throughout the course of the day. I mean, you got, for me, I got music business, I got film business that I gotta, maintain and gotta stay creative in that space to be able to put out good product. But I've been doing it for like 20 years, so coaching high school ball, and I kind of have been able to navigate it, and then you got the 14-year-old baseball player, my son, you got to, navigate the time with him, for his practice, his training, and all those things. And so, it's fun, but it can, when football season comes, it is somewhat a little more taxing to be able to navigate through a lot of that. And then again, on a Friday night when you could be making $30,000 at an appearance or doing a concert, you got to think about that. Like, what am I really doing? What am I really doing? But it's really all about the kids. It's really about saving kids' life. And I think that's why I get my blessings, and I don't do it for blessings for the man upstairs. It's because, if we don't do it, then who will?
If you had to do it all over, would you change anything?
I don't think I would change anything because I believe in the man upstairs, and everything that we go through, you either learn from it or you fall from it. And so at the end of the day, whether it was the mistakes that I made along the way, I learned from those mistakes to make me the person I am today, and to make me a different person than what I was when I made the mistakes. The things that I did great, I learned from those things. I love the fact that I had to crawl before I walked, and I was able to teach that to so many other of my artists, whether it was Pitbull, H-Town, you name it, Trick Daddy, any of those dudes, and was able to pass that information on to them.
I want to say thank you, man, for coming on with us. And when I heard we was gonna be having you, man, I was super excited because I know what you mean to my city of Miami. You're a true pioneer. Everything that you do, and like, even I follow you on Instagram, bro, just to see how your team's doing when y'all going to the camps during the summers and things of that nature, man. So I want to just say, man, keep being a great influence in those kids' lives, man, because you mean so much to them, and I appreciate you for coming on with us.
Hey, man, thank you. Thank y'all for having me, man. I love it, man. I love what y'all doing now. And again, boy, I'm still celebrating you going to the Hall of Fame. And, and our other brother, hopefully he get in, this year.
All right, bro. Appreciate you, man. I'm gonna come see you when I get on.
Okay, man, do that, man. Love y'all, man.
All right, man. Take care.
Cool.